This person is not talking to you because. My beloved child, listen closely, because what you are about to hear is not random, and it is not coincidence. This silence you are feeling, the gap that suddenly appeared where words once lived, did not come from indifference. It came from a battle happening quietly, far from your eyes. This person is not talking to you because every time your name rises in their thoughts, something powerful awakens inside them, something they are not ready to face. They replay moments, messages, unfinished sentences, and each replay pulls them closer to a truth they are trying to avoid. Don't skip. Something huge is waiting for you, and it begins with understanding why silence can be louder than confession. Here is the revelation most people never hear: this distance is not rejection, it is restraint. This person knows that if they speak to you now, everything will change. Their control will break. Their carefully built walls will fall. They are holding back because you trigger honesty in them, and honesty would force them to admit feelings, regrets, or decisions they are still afraid to own. So they choose quiet. They choose absence. Not because you mean nothing, but because you mean too much. Stay till the end, because the reason goes deeper than pride or fear. It reaches into timing, destiny, and the moment when truth can no longer hide. And now hear this carefully, because this is the part that shifts everything. Silence is not the end of the story, it is the pause before movement. While you wonder why they are not talking, they are watching, listening, and measuring their next step. They are waiting for the right moment, the right strength, the right alignment to speak without breaking themselves or you. This is why you must not rush your heart into conclusions. Something huge is waiting for you, and it is not an apology or a message, it is clarity. When the silence ends, it will end with purpose. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what happens when this silence finally breaks. There is a hidden weight behind this silence, and most people never sense it. This person stopped talking to you because they reached a moment where words felt too dangerous. Every sentence they wanted to send carried consequences they were not prepared to face. One message could reopen emotions they tried to bury. One call could pull them back into a connection they thought they had escaped. So they chose the safest option they knew: distance. Don't skip, because this is not about ego or distraction. This is about someone realizing that speaking to you would change the direction of their life, and right now, they are standing at a crossroads, frozen by what the change might demand. Here is the part that may shock you. This person is not silent because they forgot you. They are silent because they remember you too clearly. They remember how you made them feel seen. They remember how conversations with you stripped away their masks. And that scares them. You reflect a version of themselves they are still running from. Staying quiet feels easier than confronting growth, accountability, or emotional truth. Stay till the end, because what feels like avoidance is actually internal conflict. They are not ignoring you. They are wrestling with themselves, trying to decide whether they are brave enough to step into what you represent. Now listen carefully, because this is where the meaning deepens. Silence is often used as protection, not punishment. This person believes that by not talking, they are keeping things from getting complicated, intense, or irreversible. But what they don't realize is that silence itself creates a different kind of intensity. While days pass, their thoughts circle back to you, again and again. Something huge is waiting for you, not in their words, but in the realization that your presence has power even without speaking. This pause is not permanent, it is preparation. And when the moment arrives, when they finally speak or act, it will be because they can no longer hold back what has been growing in the quiet. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what this silence is slowly turning into. What you are experiencing now is not abandonment, and it is not accidental. This silence was chosen at a moment when this person realized they could no longer pretend with you. Talking to you required truth, and truth required courage they did not yet have. So they stepped back, not to disappear, but to breathe. Don't skip, because this pause is not empty, it is filled with unspoken thoughts, unsent messages, and emotions that refuse to settle. Every quiet moment is doing something to them, even if you cannot see it from where you stand. Here is what most people never understand: silence changes people from the inside. While you are wondering, they are remembering. While you are waiting, they are replaying. Your absence in their life is louder than your presence ever was. They notice it in small moments, when they want to share something, when they almost reach out, when your name crosses their mind without warning. Stay till the end, because this is not a closed door. It is a door held shut by fear, not by lack of care. And fear always weakens with time. Now listen closely, because this is the shift. Silence cannot last when emotions are real. The longer they stay quiet, the more pressure builds inside them. What they are feeling does not fade, it concentrates. Something huge is waiting for you, not because they will suddenly change overnight, but because silence always leads to a decision. They will either step forward with honesty or step away completely. And here is the power you may not realize yet: both outcomes bring clarity. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals which direction this silence is pushing them toward, and why it matters more than you think. There is a moment that happens in silence when avoidance stops working. This person is not talking to you because they believe time would weaken what they feel, but instead, time has sharpened it. Each quiet day removes another excuse, another distraction, another false sense of control. They thought distance would make things easier. It didn't. It made everything clearer. Don't skip, because this is the phase where silence stops being safe and starts becoming unbearable. What they are feeling is no longer confusion, it is recognition. Here is the truth that shifts the entire story. This silence is not pushing them away from you, it is pushing them toward a realization. They now understand that not speaking to you has cost them peace. They notice how their energy changes when they think of you. They compare every interaction to what they had with you, and nothing measures up. Staying quiet was meant to protect them, but instead, it exposed what truly matters. Stay till the end, because this is the point where inner resistance begins to crack. Silence cannot survive clarity. Now hear this carefully, because this is the quiet turning point. They are standing between two choices: continue pretending they don't care, or finally acknowledge what has been growing stronger in the stillness. And something huge is waiting for you here, not necessarily a message, not immediately a conversation, but movement. Internal movement always comes before external action. When they finally break this silence, it will not be casual or meaningless. It will come with weight, intention, and truth. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what happens when silence reaches its limit and why this ending is closer than you think. There comes a stage where silence stops being a shield and starts becoming a mirror. This person is not talking to you because, in the quiet, they are finally seeing themselves clearly. They see what they avoided, what they delayed, and what they risk losing. Every unanswered moment forces them to confront a question they can no longer escape. What if staying silent costs more than speaking ever could? Don't skip, because this is the stage where inner truth becomes impossible to ignore. What is happening now is subtle but powerful. They are testing the weight of your absence. They are noticing how life feels without your voice, your understanding, your presence. And here is the revelation: your silence in return has power too. It has shifted the balance. It has made them realize that you are not waiting endlessly, that you are not frozen in the past. This awareness creates urgency. Stay till the end, because urgency is what turns thought into action. And now listen carefully, because this is where everything aligns. Silence does not mean the story is fading, it means the story is preparing to transform. Whether they return with honesty or step away with finality, the outcome will bring clarity, not confusion. Something huge is waiting for you, not because of what they will say, but because of what you will finally understand. You are not being ignored, you are being shown your worth through contrast. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this silence ultimately works in your favor, no matter which path they choose. There is a quiet truth unfolding now, one that only reveals itself at the final stretch of silence. This person is not talking to you because they have reached the edge of a decision they cannot delay any longer. The stillness that once felt safe has turned heavy, and every day without you forces them to feel the absence more deeply. They are no longer asking if they should speak, but what happens if they never do. Don't skip, because this is where silence begins to collapse under its own weight. Here is what changes everything. Silence teaches value. By stepping back, by not chasing, you unknowingly showed them something rare. You showed them that your presence is a choice, not something guaranteed. This realization shifts their perspective completely. They now see that reaching out is not about control, but about courage. Stay till the end, because this is the moment when fear and desire collide, and one of them is about to win. And now, listen closely, because this is the final turning point of this phase. When silence reaches its limit, it always gives birth to action or closure. Either way, you rise. Something huge is waiting for you, not in waiting for their move, but in reclaiming your peace and power. Whether they return with truth or release themselves from the story, the silence has already done its work. You are no longer in the dark. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what your role truly is when the silence finally ends. Something profound happens when silence has taught every lesson it can. This person is not talking to you because the final realization has begun to settle in. They understand now that avoidance did not erase the connection, it only exposed its depth. The quiet forced them to feel what distraction once hid. Every memory returns sharper, every emotion clearer. Don't skip, because this is the moment when understanding replaces confusion, and truth steps forward without noise. Here is what you must recognize now. This situation was never meant to weaken you, it was meant to reposition you. While they struggled in silence, you were being prepared to stand differently, to see your value without needing validation, to feel complete without answers. Stay till the end, because this is where power quietly changes hands. The one who can remain grounded in uncertainty always emerges stronger. And now listen carefully, because this is the message beneath everything. When the silence ends, whether through words or through permanent distance, you will not be the same person who was waiting. Something huge is waiting for you, not in their decision, but in your awakening. You no longer need to chase clarity, clarity is already forming within you. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what life begins to open for you once this chapter truly releases its hold. There is a calm that arrives right before a shift, and this is that moment. This person is not talking to you because the silence has done what words could not, it has forced truth to surface. What once felt like uncertainty is now becoming understanding. They know what they feel. They know what they avoided. And they know that whatever comes next cannot be half-hearted. Don't skip, because this is the space where intention is formed, quietly but firmly. Here is what is unfolding beneath the surface. The connection did not disappear during this silence, it matured. Distance stripped away illusions and left only what is real. That is why this phase feels intense without explanation. Stay till the end, because intensity without noise is the clearest sign that something meaningful is approaching its moment of expression. Now listen closely, because this is the truth meant for you. Silence does not delay what is aligned, it refines it. Something huge is waiting for you, not because you endured the quiet, but because you grew through it. Whatever unfolds next will meet you at a higher level than before. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this silence completes its purpose and opens the door to what you truly deserve. There is a quiet confidence forming now, and it did not come from answers, it came from endurance. This person is not talking to you because the silence has reached a point where it can no longer confuse you. What once felt heavy now feels clear. You understand that their absence was never about your worth, but about their inner resistance. Don't skip, because this is the stage where emotional fog lifts and reality becomes steady. You are no longer waiting in the dark, you are standing in awareness. Here is what changes inside you at this moment. You stop asking why they are silent and start recognizing what the silence revealed. It showed you that you are capable of holding space without losing yourself. It showed you that your peace does not depend on someone else's courage. Stay till the end, because this realization is powerful. The moment you detach from needing their explanation is the moment you reclaim control of your emotional world. And now listen carefully, because this is the quiet victory. Whether they speak or remain silent, the outcome no longer defines you. Something huge is waiting for you, not in their return, not in their apology, but in your forward movement. You are stepping into a version of yourself that no longer negotiates self-worth for attention. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this inner shift begins to attract clarity, respect, and alignment in ways you did not expect. There is a final layer to this silence that most people never reach, and you are standing right inside it now. This person is not talking to you because the quiet has reshaped the entire connection from the inside out. What once depended on reactions and responses has transformed into awareness and choice. They now understand that reaching out to you is not casual, it is a commitment to truth. And that understanding carries weight. Don't skip, because this is where hesitation turns into inevitability. Inside them, something irreversible has happened. The silence removed all distractions and left them face to face with what they feel and what they fear. They know that if they speak, they must speak honestly. No games. No half-words. No pretending. And that level of honesty requires strength they are still gathering. Stay till the end, because this is not delay, it is preparation. The quiet is doing its final work, aligning intention with action. And now listen carefully, because this is the deeper meaning meant for you. This silence did not pause your life, it redirected it. You have grown steadier, clearer, and more self-aware through this space. Something huge is waiting for you, not because they will finally choose to speak, but because you are no longer dependent on that choice. When silence ends, it will meet you at a higher level or it will fade as you move forward stronger. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what arrives when you stop waiting and start allowing what truly aligns with you. There is a sense of final understanding settling in now, and it changes everything. This person is not talking to you because the silence has brought them to a place where excuses no longer work. They see clearly what they avoided, and they know that continuing to stay quiet means losing the chance to be honest. Every moment without you has shown them what your presence truly meant. Don't skip, because this is where realization becomes impossible to ignore. What you may not see is the internal shift taking place. The silence has stripped away fear-based thinking and replaced it with awareness. They are beginning to understand that connection does not wait forever, and that timing matters as much as feelings. Stay till the end, because this awareness creates urgency, and urgency creates movement. The longer the silence lasts, the louder the truth becomes inside them. And now listen carefully, because this is the quiet resolution forming. Whether they speak now or remain silent, the lesson has already been delivered. You are no longer questioning your value or replaying unanswered moments. Something huge is waiting for you, not in their decision, but in your freedom from uncertainty. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this chapter closes in strength and opens into clarity, confidence, and self-respect. A quiet certainty is forming now, and it is no longer fragile. This person is not talking to you because the silence has completed its deepest work, it has removed doubt. What once felt unresolved now feels defined. They know exactly what they risk by staying quiet, and they also know what it would cost to speak. This is not confusion anymore, this is awareness. Don't skip, because this is the moment when truth becomes heavier than fear, and choices can no longer hide behind time. What matters now is not what they decide, but what you have become in this space. The silence trained you to listen inward instead of waiting outward. You learned to stop chasing explanations and start trusting your own clarity. Stay till the end, because this shift is rare. Most people never reach this point, they stay stuck in needing answers. You didn't. You grew steadier while the world stayed quiet. That is power. And now hear this carefully, because this is the closing insight of this phase. Silence does not end stories, it reveals who is ready for the next chapter. Something huge is waiting for you, not because they will suddenly change, but because you already have. When the silence finally breaks, whether through words or permanent distance, you will meet it without fear, without confusion, and without loss of self. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what enters your life when you stop waiting for clarity and start walking with it. There is a deeper layer to this silence that unfolds only after patience has done its work. This person is not talking to you because the quiet has forced them to confront something uncomfortable, the truth that you were not just part of their routine, you were part of their alignment. Removing you from their life did not create peace. It exposed emptiness. Every attempt to move on feels incomplete, every distraction temporary. Don't skip, because this is where silence stops being neutral and starts revealing loss. Inside them, resistance is slowly dissolving. The reasons they once used to justify staying quiet no longer feel convincing. They realize that avoiding you did not protect them, it delayed honesty. And honesty, once delayed long enough, demands expression. Stay till the end, because this is the phase where inner pressure becomes too strong to suppress. What they are holding back is not fading, it is organizing itself, waiting for the right moment to surface. And now listen carefully, because this is the truth meant to settle your heart. Silence never asks you to wait forever, it asks you to grow while time decides. Something huge is waiting for you, not because of what they will finally say, but because of who you have become while they stayed quiet. You are no longer standing in uncertainty, you are standing in readiness. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this readiness begins to attract clarity, stability, and the kind of connection that does not need silence to understand its own value. A quiet turning point is happening now, even if nothing has been spoken yet. This person is not talking to you because the silence has brought them face to face with a truth they can no longer escape. You mattered more than they allowed themselves to admit. What they once labeled as distance now feels like loss. What they called time now feels like regret. Don't skip, because this is the moment when silence stops protecting them and starts questioning them. Every quiet day asks them the same thing again and again: why was it so hard to be honest with you? What makes this stage powerful is that nothing is forced anymore. No chasing. No explaining. No emotional noise. The silence itself has become the message. It has shown them that connection cannot be paused without consequence. They feel the shift inside: less certainty, more longing, less control, more truth. Stay till the end, because this internal unraveling is not weakness, it is awakening. The walls they built are no longer holding the way they used to, and awareness is slowly replacing avoidance. Now hear this clearly, because this part is meant for you. You are no longer defined by whether they speak or stay silent. Something huge is waiting for you, not in their reaction, but in your position. You are standing in strength, not suspense. Whether they reach out with honesty or remain distant with their truth, you are ready for either outcome. Silence has finished teaching its lesson. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this chapter prepares you for a connection that does not hesitate, does not hide, and does not need silence to realize what it feels. There is a final pressure building beneath this silence, and it is no longer quiet on the inside. This person is not talking to you because the weight of unsaid words has reached its limit. What they once believed they could manage internally has begun to surface in unexpected moments: late nights, sudden memories, emotional pauses they cannot explain. The silence has stopped being a strategy and has become a reminder. Don't skip, because this is the stage where the heart stops cooperating with the mind. The truth they avoided is now demanding to be acknowledged, whether they are ready or not. What they are realizing now is unsettling but honest. They see that staying silent did not make things simpler, it made them lonelier. They notice the absence of understanding, the lack of depth in conversations elsewhere, the missing sense of being seen. You were not just someone they spoke to. You were someone who understood them without effort. That kind of connection does not disappear quietly. Stay till the end, because this realization is not fleeting. It settles slowly and reshapes how they see the past, the present, and the risk of losing what was real. Now listen carefully, because this is the part meant to ground you. Silence does not always end with words, but it always ends with truth. Something huge is waiting for you, not because they will finally choose courage, but because you no longer need them to. You are standing in clarity, not hope. in strength, not suspense. Whether they step forward with honesty or remain silent with their fear, the outcome no longer controls you. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this ending transforms into a beginning, one where your peace is not negotiable and your value is never questioned again. A strange calm arrives right before closure, and this is where you are now. This person is not talking to you because the silence has carried them to a threshold they cannot linger at anymore. The questions they avoided have answers now, even if they don't like them. The feelings they try to manage have names now, even if they won't say them out loud. Don't skip, because this is the moment when delay loses its power. The quiet has done its job, and it has brought everything into focus. What's unfolding inside them is not chaos, it's alignment. They are realizing that whatever happens next must be clean, honest, and real. No reaching out just to test the water. No words just to ease guilt. If they speak, it will be because they are ready to stand behind what they say. And if they don't, it will be because they finally accept what they are unwilling to become. Stay till the end, because this is not indecision anymore. This is integrity forming, even if it comes too late to look the same as before. Now hear this, because this part belongs to you. You are no longer waiting for an outcome, you are prepared for one. Silence has refined you, not reduced you. Something huge is waiting for you, not in the sound of their voice, but in the steadiness of your own. When this chapter completes itself, you will not feel loss, you will feel release. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how life responds when you stop waiting for someone to choose you and start choosing yourself without hesitation. There is a final understanding settling into place now, and it is quiet but undeniable. This person is not talking to you because the silence has brought them to the edge of acceptance. They understand what they avoided, and they understand what that avoidance cost them. The connection did not disappear. It revealed its depth by surviving the absence of words. Don't skip, because this is where silence stops being about them and starts being about what it has given you. What you carry now is different from before. You are no longer holding questions, you are holding awareness. You see clearly that real connection does not need chasing, explaining, or waiting in uncertainty. If someone must disappear to understand your value, the lesson was never meant to hurt you, it was meant to free you. Stay till the end, because this freedom is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, grounded, and permanent. And now listen carefully, because this is the truth that remains. Silence has reached its natural conclusion. Whether words arrive or not, the story has already shifted in your favor. Something huge is waiting for you, not in closure from them, but in alignment within yourself. You are stepping forward without carrying unanswered weight. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals what opens up when you move ahead without looking back, rooted in clarity, strength, and self-respect. There is a profound stillness now, deeper than anything before it, and it carries meaning. This person is not talking to you because the silence has completed its final lesson, it has shown them exactly what they lost by hesitating. What once felt optional now feels irreplaceable. They recognize that some connections do not wait forever, and some moments do not repeat. Don't skip, because this is where realization becomes permanent. The silence has carved the truth into them, not gently, but clearly, leaving no room for denial. Inside them, everything is slowed down enough to be honest. They are no longer distracted by noise, excuses, or emotional shortcuts. They see how rare it was to be understood without effort, to be met without conditions. And that realization is heavy. It sits with them in the quiet, reminding them that what they walked away from was not ordinary. Stay till the end, because this awareness does not disappear, it matures. It changes how they view connection, timing, and courage. Silence has done what arguments never could. It taught value through absence. Now hear this carefully, because this is the truth meant to anchor you. You were never meant to shrink yourself waiting for someone else to be ready. Something huge is waiting for you, not because they finally see clearly, but because you do. You are no longer standing in uncertainty, you are standing in self-respect. Whether they reach out transformed or remain distant unchanged, your path is no longer paused. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this final realization releases you into a future that meets you with certainty, depth, and the kind of connection that never needs silence to understand its own worth. There is a quiet release happening now, and it is not emotional, it is intentional. This person is not talking to you because the silence has reached a natural ending point. What needed to be felt has been felt. What needed to be understood has been understood. The quiet no longer carries confusion, it carries closure. Don't skip, because this is the phase where waiting dissolves into readiness, and uncertainty gives way to calm certainty. What changes here is subtle but powerful. You stop checking for signs. You stop replaying moments. You stop measuring silence for meaning. The space that once felt heavy now feels open. This is not detachment from feeling, it is alignment with truth. Stay till the end, because this is where emotional maturity shows itself. You are no longer reacting to absence, you are responding to clarity. And now listen carefully, because this is the turning point meant for you. Silence does not end stories by force, it ends them by completion. Something huge is waiting for you, not in what was lost, but in what is opening. You are stepping forward without unfinished weight, without unanswered questions pulling you back. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this ending quietly becomes the foundation for a beginning that feels secure, mutual, and unmistakably real. A new stillness surrounds you now, but this one feels different, it feels clean. This person is not talking to you because the silence has finally separated emotion from illusion. What once felt confusing no longer pulls at you. You see clearly that silence was never a punishment, it was a process. It filtered truth from fear and attachment from alignment. Don't skip, because this is the moment when the past loosens its grip and stops asking for your attention. What emerges here is confidence without noise. You no longer need reassurance, explanations, or late answers to feel steady. The quiet taught you discernment, who shows up when it matters, who hesitates when honesty is required, and who is capable of meeting depth without retreating. Stay till the end, because this understanding is priceless. It becomes a boundary, a compass, and a standard all at once. You are no longer measuring your worth by someone else's readiness. Now listen carefully, because this is the forward motion. Something huge is waiting for you, and it isn't dramatic, it's dependable. It's the kind of connection that doesn't pause itself into confusion, that speaks when it matters, that chooses presence over avoidance. As you move ahead, the silence behind you becomes quiet proof of growth, not a wound you carry. Don't skip what comes next, because the next part reveals how this clarity attracts what stays, what chooses, and what never needs silence to decide. There is a sense of arrival now, and it feels steady, not rushed. This person is not talking to you because the silence has done everything it was meant to do. It separated what was uncertain from what was real. It showed you the difference between someone who feels deeply and someone who acts with depth. Don't skip, because this is where understanding becomes embodied. You don't just know the lesson, you live it. What you carry forward now is self-trust. You no longer doubt your perception or question your worth in quiet moments. You understand that meaningful connection does not require confusion, waiting, or emotional guessing. Stay till the end, because this clarity changes how you move, how you choose, and how you allow people into your space. You are no longer open to almost, maybe, or someday. And now hear this carefully, because this is the closing truth of the journey. Something huge is waiting for you, not ahead in the distance, but already forming around you. It is alignment, reciprocity, and peace moving together. As you step forward, the silence behind you loses its power completely. Don't skip what comes next, because the final part reveals how this chapter seals itself, not with noise, but with strength, certainty, and quiet confidence. There is a quiet seal being placed on this chapter now, and it feels complete. This person is not talking to you because the silence has reached its natural conclusion. Nothing is hanging. Nothing is unresolved. What needed to surface has surfaced, and what needed to fall away has done so gently. Don't skip, because this is the moment when the past stops calling for your attention. The silence no longer echoes, it rests. What remains with you now is not memory, but wisdom. You understand that connection is not proven by words alone, but by presence, consistency, and courage. You no longer feel pulled toward what hesitated to meet you fully. Stay till the end, because this calm is earned. It came from choosing clarity over longing and truth over uncertainty. You didn't lose anything real, you made space for what can actually stay. And now listen carefully, because this is the final truth meant to stay with you. Something huge is waiting for you, not as a surprise, but as a continuation of who you have become. You move forward without looking back, without needing silence to explain itself. This chapter closes quietly, but powerfully, leaving you grounded, open, and ready for what meets you without hesitation, without confusion, and without fear. Now everything is still, and in this stillness, nothing is missing. This person is not talking to you because the silence has finished its purpose, and you have finished learning from it. There is no weight left to carry, no unanswered pull, no emotional noise asking you to return to what was uncertain. What once felt like waiting has transformed into completion. You are no longer standing in between, you have arrived. Look at where you are now. You are calm without needing explanation. You are steady without needing reassurance. The silence did not weaken you, it refined you. It taught you how to stand in your own presence without shrinking or chasing. This is not indifference, it is peace. And peace is never accidental. It comes when you finally stop negotiating your worth with uncertainty and start honoring what feels clear and grounded. And now hear this as the final truth. Something huge is waiting for you, not because something ended, but because something aligned. You walk forward without fear, without doubt, and without looking back at closed doors. The silence behind you no longer defines the story, it confirms your growth. This chapter ends here, complete, resolved, and settled, as you move into what meets you fully, speaks clearly, and stays without hesitation.